Good morning, everyone. So, welcome back to my channel, Butterfly Spirit 314. So, guys, this morning I got inspired to do a video. And the reason I got inspired to do this video is because I was on a wait list for a class, a introduction to pole dance class on October 12th. And what happened is that someone dropped out of the class for, I believe this was like the fourth time someone dropped out. And since I was on the wait list, what I decided to do is I finally decided to grab the spot because I've been on the same wait list for a little while and people have taken the class and then they, I guess, decided to drop out for whatever reason. And so I finally decided to just grab the class and take it. And this will eventually put me at 9 pole dancing classes. So I'm gonna have met my goal. Many of you guys have maybe heard me say that in order for me to move on to the level 1 of pole dancing, I have to take 8 classes. And what's confusing is that it says 8+ classes is what you have to take and stuff. And so I was a little confused because when I was in class too, this past Wednesday, I was talking to the instructor of the class. And we have different instructors depending on the class, the day of the class. So I was talking to the instructor and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to take I'll take this class and this other class. And then I'll finally be in like 8, classes. And then I noticed how the instructor, she was kind of like, she wasn't as excited about me taking the 8 classes. But the girls who she was talking to that said they had taken 9 or 10 or 11 classes, she seemed like she was like, okay, yeah, you guys can, move on to level 1. And I think the thing is that they want us to take at least maybe 9 classes and things. So, um, so I'm just gonna go for it and take one more intro class. And then once I get there, then be at I'll eventually be at the 8+ classes, and then I can graduate to level 1. So yeah, so I'm just gonna take that one class and put me over. So anyway, um, the wait list inspired me to make this video because I noticed that as I've taken classes, people kind of drop out of the class. And so I'm going to talk about some of the reasons that I feel that why they don't show up for pole dancing class. Okay. And it's just an idea I had. And I'm like, well, let's see what happens. So I made myself up a list and I'm going to talk to you guys about some reasons people don't show up for pole dancing. Okay. And these are people, when I talk about they don't show up for pole dancing, these could be people who are beginners or maybe people who've taken a couple classes or something like that. So let's get into it. So the first reason that people don't show up for pole dancing class is because some people are probably, let's say, the person was in a relationship and they are currently going through a breakup. And they booked the class, let's say, because they were trying to, use the class as last resort to try to rekindle something in a relationship. But they ended up breaking up with their person. Well, they didn't, but the person broke up with them and stuff. And they're like, well, what's the use of me going to pole dancing, if it's not going to do anything for my relationship, but it's not pole dancing. It's more that what happened is that their relationship, maybe it was already in the process of breaking down anyway, to the point where, it wasn't going to necessarily save their relationship. So the person decided, well, since my relationship's over, I'm going to cancel going to pole dancing. And they just made it simple as that. Okay. Another reason that a person might not decide to show up for their pole dancing and begin their journey is because they're self-conscious about their body. So in pole dancing classes, I've been in many. So far, I've been in, I believe, 6. Tomorrow, I'll be in my 7th class. And when you're in pole dancing, you are around other people, and some people are subconscious about their body and how they look. Yes, there's a mirror in front of you, so you can see yourself when you're warming up and things like that. And some people may be afraid for people to see them, especially if people are seeing you in like less clothing. So in pole dancing, for example, some people will come into pole dancing class. I mean, we're supposed to wear shorts, and a sports bra is helpful, okay? Because uh, there are areas of your body that have to come in contact with the pole. And so some people may be subconscious about people seeing them, in a sports bra or shorts, and rightfully so, right? Let's say a person's subconscious for the right reasons. But the thing is, I think that, and people could also wear like a tank top instead of like a sports bra. They can wear a tank top instead if they're worried about people seeing their stomach or whatever. But the thing is that people are subconscious about their body. They don't want people looking at their body and seeing like their imperfections of their body and stuff, like while they're warming up and stuff like that. And that's something, that fear of people seeing them and them being judged is something that's going to prevent them from showing up and going to pole dancing. A third reason why people don't show up for pole dancing is they think they're not strong enough. Okay. They think that, they have to have the strength of like a gymnast or some other kind of stuff. But in reality, it's really not true. When you're starting in pole dancing, you don't have to have a lot of strength to do it, because the thing about pole dancing is you eventually build the strength. But there are some people who they may feel like, they're weak. They feel like, man, I'm not going to be able to do that. And in pole dancing, you do have to know how to lift your body weight. So some people are probably watching videos and saying, man, they're excited. They're like, oh, they see this video online. They're like, oh, that looks cool. But then they think about, oh shit, I have to lift myself up. I can't do that. I signed up for the class. Now I'm gonna cancel because I can't do that. But the thing is with pole dancing is definitely something where you build strength over time. It's not something where you have to come in with strength. You're going to build strength, you're going to build flexibility, and that's something I want you guys to know, especially those of you who want to try it out and you've never tried it out. You'll build the strength and stuff. I'm an intro student. I'm not even at the beginner level yet. But one thing I have been doing is I've been working on my flexibility a little bit and working on getting stronger a bit on my own. But some people, because, they feel like they're not strong enough, they decide that they don't want to show up for pole dancing, which is sad because they could eventually get stronger, So the fourth reason why people don't show up for pole dancing is they need the money. So you have a person, maybe they were excited and they're like, oh, I want to try pole dancing. Oh my gosh. And then what happens is that they realize that the money that they spend on that pole dancing class, they actually need it for, something else that came up. And so because they have the ability to get the money back for pole dancing, they're like, well, I'll just get a refund and use the money for something else. And so they drop the class. So let's see. A fifth reason why people don't show up for pole dancing is because their friends don't think they can do it. So there's a lot of people who care about what their friends think of them and, their friends impression them and stuff. And, sometimes, people are like, let's say one of their friends is taking, doing pole dancing or whatever, and their friend is really good at it. And so they say, "Ooh, I want to get into it because you know, my friend's into doing this, and everybody's talking great about her because she's doing pole dancing, or everybody's talking great about him because he's doing pole dancing and stuff. Hey, if I can pole dancing, then I can, then people be talking about me and everything, right? You know, but here's the thing, you know, if you get in, let's say you sign up for pole dancing, or somebody signs up for pole dancing, right? And then they tell their friends, right? I'm gonna tell you this. Screw what your friends think. I'm serious. Screw what your friends think. You know, a lot of people give up on doing stuff because their friends don't think they can do it. And they let these people who are friends, who they're not really friends, they frenemies, or people who are just, using them as the butt of jokes and shit like that, to try to stop them from doing something. And so people think, oh, if my friends don't think I can do pole dancing, then I shouldn't do it. I should just let, Sarah, she's doing pole dancing. Everybody likes her doing it. Maybe I'll drop out or whatever. But the thing is you can't let people stop you from doing something you want to do, especially because that opportunity to do something may not be around anymore. It could be something where maybe you got this opportunity to do something and it could dry up. And I'll give you an example. So there was a pole dancing studio that I wanted to go to, and this was like last year, and they had opened. And I was telling myself, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go and stuff like that. But, I never really could find the time. I said I would get around to it. And I was like, oh, they'll be around. And it turns out, you know what happened to that pole dancing studio I wanted to go to? They shut down. And here I was being like, oh shit, they're closed now. What do I do? Right? And I'm making this point because sometimes people think things are going to be around forever, or they think, I can hold off on doing this. But what if an opportunity dries up and this is your chance to like learn something? Pole dancing is definitely something I can tell you that I'm learning a lot about myself, and it's very therapeutic. It is very helpful. It's definitely something where I really enjoy it. But one thing I don't want people to do is to miss out on doing something because their friends don't think they can do it. Okay. Because your friends could be jealous of you. You know, they could wish they had the confidence to go into a class like that, but the thought of you doing it, they can't take it. So they try to tell you, oh, no, don't do it. I say go for it. Hell, even if you can't make it on that specific date, still try it. See if you like it. All right. So let's go to the next reason. So number 6. So the sixth reason why people don't show up for pole dancing is they don't think they're flexible enough. So the last pole dancing class that I attended, before my class started, there was this other class. And there are these people, there are these students, they were in a higher up class than the one I had. So I think they were in like a level 3 class. And these students were doing some really cool stuff. And they were like inverting on the pole, like the upside down, and they were doing like these flexible moves on the pole. They were so graceful and all that stuff. Really cool. And so, when I saw these level 3 students doing stuff on the pole, I was like, damn, they doing some cool shit, amazing, right? And because they looked flexible, to some people, if they see those level 3 students doing stuff, they may get intimidated and they may be like, well, why should I try pole dancing if I can't do that? But the thing about pole dancing is it's in levels, right? I'm an intro student. So if I'm seeing somebody that's a level 3 do something, the reason that I'm seeing, the stuff they're doing that's like makes them look graceful and flexible and all that, they had to build up to that. And some people may feel like, If they're not already flexible and stuff, they can't do pole dancing. But the truth is, they can do pole dancing. You build strength through pole dancing, you build flexibility and gracefulness through pole dancing. If you also want to work on looking graceful by while doing something, you could also do ballet. Ballet allows you to be more, fluid and different things like that. You just have to train in it and things. So that's how people can become graceful. But yeah, some people get intimidated and think, oh, because I can't do what this level 3 person can do, I'm not flexible like them, then I can't do it. You know, hell, I took a class in, I think it was intro to aerial arts. So like, stuff people do in the circus. I took a class like that, an intro class. And I had this expectation. I was like, man, am I even going to be able to do some of this stuff? You know what I'm saying? Hell, gymnasts are, these people usually in the circus, they probably able to do flips and all kinds of shit. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I shouldn't be and try to take this class. Luckily, I decided to take the class anyway. Luckily, I did. And I had a good time. And, if I would have let that doubt get to me, then I wouldn't have even I wouldn't even taken the class. But I'm glad I took the class and hell, I want to go back. But right now, they're in the middle of a series right now. So I wouldn't be able to jump in on it. And it's a little pricey. So yeah. So needless to say, flexibility can be gained through pole dancing. But some people think because they see a person at a higher level doing pole dancing, they think they can't do it and they got to be flexible first. But no, you don't. A seventh reason why people don't show up for pole dancing is a huge one. Huge reason is that their family does not approve of them doing pole dancing. And this is going to be a big reason for some people. And the reason is because, sometimes people will tell their family that they're doing something and their family may doubt them. Or somebody in their family may get jealous that they're, going in and trying something like pole dancing. Or, their family members may say, oh no, it's a sin if you do pole dancing, that's for, that's not becoming of a woman to do pole dancing and all that stuff, right? And so some people will drop out of a pole dancing class because, or even trying pole dancing because of their family. And guys, what I have to say about this is that, you don't have to wait for a family member's approval or a friend's approval to try out pole dancing. Screw other people's approval. Shit. I mean, why worry about another person's approval of what the hell you decide to do? Because when it's all said and done, if you stop yourself from doing something that you want to do, you're not doing nothing but sacrificing yourself. You're not doing anything but preventing yourself from, having an experience that could be fun, and if you stop yourself from doing something just because a family member doesn't approve, then hell, you might as well count on their ass to tell you what to do with every damn thing in your life. But in this life that we're in, we make choices. If we depend on what another person thinking shit like that, and here's the thing. Sometimes family members can be, projecting their insecurities on you and stuff. And they may be worried about, you progressing or you being better than them in some way. But the truth is you're not. You're just trying something new. Okay. And what I want you guys to know is you don't have to get a family member's approval to take pole dancing. Now, pole dancing is for adults. So, children should not be doing that. Okay. They should not be taking those classes. When they get to be 18, then they can take the classes. But don't wait on the family member's approval to take pole dancing because, 9 times out of 10, their family member is jealous of you. Maybe they can't stand you. Maybe they want, maybe they just, they don't want you to, get to this better version of yourself or something like that. A lot of times it's because of jealousy. Hell, even in families. Seriously. Now, I will get around to Another reason that people will say in families that you can't do pole dancing, a lot of reasons, times they'll say, the religion. Oh, oh, well, that's, it's a sin and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of things are sins, but why the hell worry about, what does that have to do with you? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to try something out and do something, why not do something, especially if it's good for you? I think pole dancing is good for people. And they don't have to ask their family shit about whether they can take it or not. Hell, just take the class, try it out. If you don't like it, you ain't gotta tell nobody. You know, be discreet about it. You know what I mean? But hey, that's just my opinion. Don't depend on other people's opinion, whether they're friends or family. Don't depend on their opinion about whether or not you should take advantage of doing something, especially if it's something that's going to bring out the best version of you, like pole dancing. So the eighth reason why people don't show up for pole dancing is because they're sick. So maybe they were all gung ho about going to a pole dancing class and they're really excited, and then they come down with a cold, or they come down with, some sort of flu or something like that. And hey, that's understandable. If you're sick, and you want to focus on getting better, please do that first, because you don't want to run the risk of getting other people sick. So I think that's a great reason not to show up for pole dancing. If you're sick, build your strength back up, focus on, nursing yourself and getting back in good shape, and then, come to pole dancing. So I think that's a good reason. Number 9 reason why people don't show up for pole dancing is that, they just feel like it's easier to have AI do the pole dancing instead of them doing the pole dancing. They're like, oh, well, they're like, they find out everything that goes into pole dancing, and they're like, wait, I got to build strength, and I got to become flexible and stuff. I don't want to do that. Hey, how about I just do this AI and have it make it look like I'm doing shit on the pole, but I'm not really doing it. And then I can make the video real quick instead of having to take all these classes. Yeah, I'll just do that. So, sometimes people want to take the easy way out. So they just have AI make it look like they're doing something they're not doing. But like I said in a video that I made before, if you use AI to do something and you show other people the AI version of you doing something, be prepared that when you go out and go someplace and you brag and tell people you did something and you didn't really do that, like pole dancing or roller skating or whatever the hell it is you told people you did and you had a video of yourself doing, people are going to find out that you can't do something because they're going to call you out on it. Especially the more grand, the more grand something is, the more people are going to want to see you do it in real life, because they going to want to see you. And here's the problem. People going to have their phones out when they want to see you do something. Like when they will see you do pole dancing and you had a video of yourself doing it, and you go to like some kind of bar or something like that, and they got a pole, and your friend's like, okay, do the stuff we've seen you do on, in that video. And people got their phones out and you can't do it. That's when you get found out. And also, the sad thing is people lose respect for you if you can't do something. They lose that respect because essentially you lied when you made that video of an AI version of you doing something that you can't do, and it sucks. I would just tell people, hey, just be honest. Just say, hey, you know what? I really wish I could do pole dancing and stuff like that. I'm intimidated. I wish I could, and I want to do this, but I'm, and hey, what if a person makes an AI video of themselves doing pole dancing, and maybe they're doing it to see maybe what it would look like for them to be doing it as a way to see how would their body move, what would their body look like doing something, but looking at yourself doing something in an AI video and you actually doing it, there's nothing wrong with looking at yourself doing it. But I say, trying something out is different, because when I do pole dancing moves in my class in particular, like classes I've been in, the way that it looks like when I'm doing the actual move on the video versus like the thoughts that are going through my head and how I actually feel when I'm doing it. Cause I may feel awkward as hell when I'm doing a pole dancing move. I may feel awkward as hell. But outside to other people, I may look pretty damn good doing it, and I'm just like, you really think I look good doing this? Oh, I don't think I look good at all doing it. But some people may use an AI video as just to see what they would look like. And, could they, it could be inspiration for them to see if maybe what it would look like to other people of them doing something, So it could be helpful or not. I don't think it's a good idea to use a video saying you could do something that you can't. But for some people, it's probably inspiration. I would just tell people, just don't lie to other people. You know, don't lie. Be honest about what you can and can't do. You know, and don't let the journey intimidate you towards pole dancing. Like if you want to do pole dancing and you see somebody doing some really cool shit, like what I want to do is I want to be able to invert. I want to be able to do what's called an Aisha. But in order to be able to get to do an Aisha, I'm not at that level yet. I am not. And Aisha and inverting, that's going to come at level 3. And the thing is just because I see somebody who's a level 3 doing something, I realize that, you know what? I have to build up to get there. Now, I will say this. There's another studio where I take classes at, and there are some girls who are because I'm a level 1 at that studio. There are some girls in the level 1 class that they are forcing themselves to rush through pole dancing. They are forcing themselves to run through it, and they want to do the advanced stuff right now, real quick. I want to do this fast or whatever. But the thing is that it's about patience, following a technique in order to become a better pole dancer. Okay. And it's not about speed. No, it's not. Because pole dancers that can do a lot of cool stuff, a lot of times people have taken it upon themselves to actually build up their strength. So the things you see them doing, these people may have been doing stuff for years before you come upon a video of them doing really cool shit, okay, on the pole. All right. So the 10th reason that someone may not, so the 10th reason why people don't show up for pole dancing is because someone called them a bad name. So somebody they know may have found out that they're going to be taking pole dancing and they're signed up for a class. And somebody close to them may have called them a bad name. So somebody may have called them a whore. Somebody may have called them a slut. Somebody may have called them all kinds of stuff because they're going into pole dancing. And here's the thing. Just because you pole dance, it does not mean you're a whore. It does not mean you're a slut. It doesn't mean you're a 304. It doesn't mean you're any of those things. If you want to go and you want to take pole dancing is a good and positive thing. And if somebody calls you a bad name or some shit, maybe you shouldn't be around their ass anyway. Don't be around them people, because they're just negativity. That's really what these people are. It's just negative. When you're around negative people, they cause you to be negative. It's like they say, when you're around, positive people, you're positive. You're around negative people, you become negative. Hell, same thing they say about whether you're rich and poor. If you surround yourself around people who are rich, you'll become rich. If you surround yourself around people who are, poor, you're likely to become more poor, because it's about who you surround yourself with. The great thing about pole dancing is when you're in pole dancing class, when you are learning something with other people and you're in a positive environment, that's going to allow you to be more positive and see more good attributes in yourself, which is definitely something you want. If somebody is going to call you a bad name because you're trying out pole dancing, I would say don't bother with them and move on with your life. Now, if it's a family member, it's even harder. But the thing is that it's up to you to decide what you do and don't share with other people. You don't have to share with people what it is that you decide to do. If you decide to pole dancing, you ain't got to tell nobody. Make the decision of, sharing things that you're comfortable sharing with other people. You know what I'm saying? Whether you want to or not. All right. So last and final reason that people, why they don't show up for pole dancing is they tried pole dancing and they feel like they aren't getting it in a day. So when it comes to social media these days, a lot of us feel like if you get started in a hobby, you have to learn it in a day. And here's what I'm going to tell you. You're not going to learn anything in a day. Okay. In order to learn anything, to master anything, you have to take the time to really, get a feel for what you're doing. It's the same thing for anything. If you want to learn to play the piano, okay, if you want to learn to build a house, if you want to, you want to learn how to scuba dive or climb a mountain or, ride a horse, whatever. Anything is going to require practice. It's not going to be a one and done situation. A lot of people feel like with, anything, because of social media, because they see other people. And some people will lie and say, oh, I learned this in a day, or I learned this, I learned this in 24 hours, or I learned this in a week. But here's the thing. Nobody's going to learn something in a day or a week or a month. Nobody's going to do that. The people in the Olympics, the amazing stuff these people can do. Many of these people have put in hours of their lives, years of their lives to get to that one moment where they're at the Olympics. They trained for years in order to get there. They're not just an instant sensation. No, it's the same thing with singing. When we see people and they go and they're singing, and they're singing in front of, they're on a show or something like that, America's Got Talent or, whatever the hell music shows out there. When people are out there singing in front of people, 9 times out of 10, a lot of those people have practiced singing, and they've practiced singing for a long time, right? And hell, to get the confidence to be able to go out there in front of other people and to actually be able to sing in front of hundreds of people, it takes confidence. And nobody's going to, unless you're doing karaoke. You could be doing karaoke for fun and singing. But if somebody really wants to be a, really good singer, or they want to be, they want to play the piano, or they want to, scuba dive, or they want to, be in, skydive or whatever, right? Whatever hobby is out there. What I want to tell you guys is that it takes time to get there. It's not going to happen in 24 hours. It's not going to happen in a week. It's not going to happen in a month. I saw this video on YouTube. There was this girl, and the title of her video, she said she learned pole dancing in a month. That is not true. I've been doing pole dancing for at least a year. Actually, yeah, a little over a year I've been doing pole dancing. You don't learn how to do pole dancing in a month. And I think there are a lot of people who are putting this pressure on themselves and saying, if I don't learn how to master pole dancing, if I can't learn everything in one class, then, I shouldn't keep doing pole dancing. But here's the thing. You don't have to learn it in one class. I've had several classes in pole dancing. And what I have to say about it, guys, is that, if you don't understand something, don't give up on it. And I know that if you're in a class, sometimes you may be intimidated to ask the teacher. You may be scared. You may be afraid to ask, hey, how do I do this? Because you're afraid of what people in the class are going to think of you. Maybe you had an experience in the past where some people have ridiculed you for asking a question. But the thing is that if you're struggling on something or you can't learn something in one pole dance class, come back for another one. And also, hey, take a pole dancing class with another, like a different instructor, you know. And there are some things that I've discovered that um, some instructors are able to teach me how to do something that another one maybe wasn't able to teach me. And that's okay. Sometimes people are not great at teaching. You know, it may take this one instructor to teach you how to do this, but don't give up on it. You know, I'll give you an example. I took a crochet class, and crochet, it was supposed to be a class about making like a headband. And, you know, I wanted to learn to do crochet and everything. And what happened is that basically, um, I was in the class trying it, and I was, of course, getting frustrated with doing crochet and trying it. And I stuck with it. But there was this lady in the class. She was trying crochet. I thought she was doing really great. But she got up and walked out. And she's like, well, I don't have the dexterity. This is too hard. And here's the thing. That lady gave up on doing crochet because she told herself she couldn't do something. The progress she was making, I thought she was making better progress than me. But I still stuck with it. And when I got to my limit, I was kind of like, hey, you know, I'm ready to go or whatever. But one thing I did do was I did ask the teachers of the crochet class, and I asked them, I said, well, you know, hey, how long does it typically take somebody to learn to do crochet? And the teacher, she was like, oh, she's like, well, you know, it took me, she's like, oh, it took me months to learn to crochet, you know. And so I got a realistic expectation about how long it took someone to master it and how they learned it. Okay. And I think a lot of people, with what they see on social media, they feel this pressure when they get into pole dancing or anything else. They feel like they got to learn it in a day. But there are some intricacies and things that you have to learn that it's going to take time, you know. And just because you don't get it in pole dancing or can't land something, hell, I feel like I struggle with pirouettes in class. I don't feel like those are my best. But you know what? I'm not letting that stop me from going to class, you know, because one thing I had to realize is that it's not about perfection and me learning to do a move perfectly. It's about the fact that I keep going, you know. And I know a lot of people can get worried about that and get scared and say, you know, if I'm not perfect at this, then what are other people in class going to think? You know, hell, I'm a person, I'm having a hard time climbing in class. I'm still that person who's I haven't landed it yet. There's some people who, boom, they saw the teacher do it, and they was able to climb up the pole. But you know what? The fact that I keep going, that's what's going to help me get better. A lot of the videos I post on YouTube of myself doing stuff, it's because I am keeping going with it. Okay. That's what makes the difference, is keep going. So many people will stop themselves from doing something because they don't feel like they're learning it fast enough. But you don't have to learn to do it fast enough. Mm-mm. You don't have to. Take your time. And, you know, day by day, you'll get better and better and better and better, you know. And the more practice you put into something, eventually you'll master it. Eventually you will. So, so I talked about the 11 reasons why people don't show up for pole dancing. I appreciate you guys who popped in and peeked in. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.